You may have seen this video where a player shoots a Rocketeer with an anvil. The Rocketeer flips over and plummets to the ground and explodes. According to the poster, the reason why this was possible was the anvil loadout. It had an anvil splitter and an extended barrel. Now, I had to try this out for myself to see, is this a viable strategy? Is this something we really can do ourselves reliably? Or was it a fluke shot? And what really went down here? So I investigated. Thanks to Hugo from my Twitch stream, we managed to get a bunch of anvil splitters together to really give this a proper test. So can the anvil splitter actually flip over a Rocketeer? And is this combo potentially something we can use to kill Rocketeers quicker? I first set out to Dam Battlegrounds to give this a proper test, and we found our first Rocketeer to try this on. It took a lot of time to get the hang of some mechanics that really helped us to get more of a flip. It turns out, yes, you can use this combo to flip, or at least unsettle the Rocketeer as it's moving around, but it's not perfect, and it's only when certain conditions are met. We quickly learned in our first game that the Rocketeer at least needs to be in attack mode. If it's just cruising, you know, when it's got the blue search beam, it's not going to work. And this is because once it's in attack mode, it speeds up. It has more velocity in its thrusters, and this helps with the way the physics work. It's almost like the anvil shot combined with the force of the Rocketeer's thrusters is what allows the Rocketeer to flip. So, number one, you have to be in combat mode. Well, the Rocketeer has to be in combat mode. I would hope you're in combat mode as well. The second thing that seems to play some importance is if you're directly under the thruster and shoot directly up, this is going to have more of an effect on how the thruster is sort of pushed, and that's going to give it more of a flip. If you shoot from the side too much, it doesn't really do much. It just kind of tanks the shot, and it makes sense, right? If you're shooting a thruster from below, you're using all of your force to push it upwards into the air, which causes it to flip over. So if you think from a physics standpoint, this makes a lot of sense. So the closer you are to the underneath of the Rocketeer and the more verticality you have on the shot, the better it's going to have a chance of flipping it. Now, you may have seen in that last clip, we didn't kill the Rocketeer because it was too high in the air. If you manage to get the flip, but it's really high up in the air, it's going to be able to stabilize itself and just continue flying. What we want to do is have it so that the Rocketeer is close enough to the ground, we flip it, and then it lands on its back, and that is what is going to cause it to explode. Now, that's going to depend on the map and the spawn location for the Rocketeer. I'm sure we can learn of the best spots so that we can do this more efficiently, but there's just going to be some areas on the map where this is impossible. For example, some low-level areas on Blue Gate where it just flies really high in the air. You're going to have to bait it to somewhere where there's a lot of buildings and higher level terrain so that it's closer to the ground. It needs to be close to the ground. Another thing you may have seen there, if the Rocketeer is doing its triple rocket attack, it speeds up and it has more momentum. And if you shoot the thruster during this moment, it's far more likely that momentum is going to be carried through that shot as the thruster gets flipped, and it's going to come down crashing to the ground with more effect. So definitely it needs to be in combat mode, but if you manage to get a cheeky shot whilst it's doing its triple attack, probably going to come crashing to the ground quite violently. Another really important thing that I learned over time is the outer kind of grey black armor plating. If that's still on the Rocketeer and you shoot the Rocketeer, it's not going to do much. It's going to tank the impact a lot better. So you kind of need to shoot off that armor plating first to have more of a chance. Once the white inner sort of arc alloy, the metal inside, is showing and you shoot that, it has far more impact on how the rocket or Rocketeer is affected by your shot. And this is why getting a shot directly under the thruster works well too, because the under thruster area is showing the inner armor. There's a part that is not plated, and you can see in the original clip, this is the part that player shot, which gives us a good clue. You need to shoot the unarmored part for this to be successful. Now, I wanted to test this. Do you really need the anvil splitter extended barrel combo? Is that what makes this work? The barrel will increase the velocity of a shot, and we know more velocity affects flying arc because the Aphelion really does mess with flying arc quite well, as does the Osprey. Both weapons have high velocity, so the extended barrel adds velocity. So I gave it some more testing, and overall, it does seem like the anvil splitter gives you more of a shot or more of a chance of flipping a Rocketeer, and you don't really have as much of a chance with only the extended barrel. So the anvil splitter, by adding more projectiles, which is basically multiplying the effect of the pushback, and the extended barrel increasing the velocity together, is what makes this combo work well. Now, I wanted to test this more, and my experience was, if you can push the Rocketeer into anything, even if you just push it into a lamppost or a bit of a wall, it takes masses of damage. It really does speed up the time it takes to kill a Rocketeer if you can just push the Rocketeer into literally anything. We managed to kill 2 Rocketeers here by just pushing it into a lamppost, which is quite funny. It takes huge amounts of damage whenever it touches anything, as long as its thrusters are in combat mode. So this is a successful way to use the anvil splitter and extended barrel. Now, question is, how do we even find the anvil splitter? I was wondering that myself, to be honest, and I couldn't find it no matter how long I searched, which is weird because in the past, I found it tons. So here's some tips I got from my viewer, Hugo, in my Twitch stream, who farmed 7 of these things quite successfully. So what he suggested is to do 2x raids and loot the pharmacy building on Barrier City. This is where he found the most. I think there's 2 things that are happening here to boost the spawn rate. Firstly, 2x map condition is going to boost the higher value items, so higher level attachments. He specifically suggested Cold Snap. He had better luck there than he did with Hurricane. And also, the pharmacy is behind a locked door, and in the game, locked doors traditionally have better loot value there. Ultimately, though, yes, it's a rare item, and you're not guaranteed to find one. Sometimes you can get it from projects. The Trophy Project offered 3 as a reward, so that could be a way to get it. Now, if you're in PvE lobbies and you manage to find one of these, you can use it pretty freely without much worry. If you're in sus or PvP lobbies, then I'd recommend sticking it in your safe pocket when you're out of combat and throwing it on when you want to take out a Rocketeer. Besides this Rocketeer tech, I think the anvil splitter is pretty terrible. I've tried it in PvP before. Whilst it can do more maximum damage, on average you're doing less damage per shot because of the spread of the weapon, which is not something you want from a pistol. And for a shotgun, you're better off still using the Toro, even though it's been nerfed. It just doesn't quite work out. I've tried it a lot. Never works out in PvP. And I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, isn't it easier just to use a Hornet driver on the Rocketeer? And yeah, if you've got the practice down, I agree. Hornet drivers are far more efficient at dealing with Rocketeers. However, the anvil splitter extended barrel combo is definitely better than a traditional anvil, and it's going to speed up the kill. Even if you don't manage to flip it every time, you're going to flip it most times and deal a little bit of extra damage on those flips, or maybe even secure a kill with it, which is faster than if you didn't have the attachments. So yes, finally we have a use for the anvil splitter, although it's not really that legendary feeling, and you could always just use a Hornet driver. So that's that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the comments. Cheerio.